Hey guys, Croft is here. Today I want to talk about what happened to LV-223 after Prometheus. There are actually a number of interesting things that we did not have a chance to see in the movie, including more Deacon scenes and some fascinating events involving engineers and Xenomorphs. As many of you probably know, LV-223 is named this way for a reason and is actually a reference to a quote from the Bible, Leviticus 2:23, which in modern translation says, "If any one of your descendants touches these things, that person will become unclean. That person must be separated from me. The Israelites gave these things to me. I am the Lord." Being unclean and touching these things is probably a reference to touching the black goo, which is exactly what David does, and becomes a devil figure later in the story, while other crew members undergo severe mutations. In other words, they lose their human characteristics and in this way become separated from God. That was just a biblical reference, and there are tons of ways of interpreting it, but now let's get to what actually happened to LV-223. Originally, it was planned that David and Shaw would be pursued by a newborn Deacon alien as they run towards the second Juggernaut on LV-223. Collector's Blu-ray edition has many images of that sequence, and they provide several details about the Deacon's pursuit. The alien runs across desert landscapes as it hunts Shaw and nearly misses the Juggernaut. This would actually imply that Shaw pretty quickly assembled David back together since she doesn't know how to control Juggernauts. Otherwise, David had to explain to her how to set up the navigation system so they can leave before the Deacon reaches them. The imagery of the Deacon pursuit is really cool, and too bad that it was never filmed, as we would learn more about the Deacon, a distant relative of Xenomorph species. It would also give a legitimate reason why the Deacon teaser was included at the end of Prometheus. Comic books Fire and Stone explain what happened to the Deacon and LV-223 after the expedition, which is actually extremely interesting, so let's go over it. A year after Prometheus, a probe is sent to the moon and it starts to scan the landscape, but an engineer crashes it on its way. This actually indicates that there is at least one more engineer left alive. In the years that followed the Prometheus expedition, LV-223 changed dramatically from rocks and stones to massive organic jungles. The ampules aboard the engineer's ship containing the black goo spread across LV-223, accelerating the development of the world's ecosystem, introducing acceleration of organic life and breathable atmosphere, which later led to appearance of different alien species. 86 years after the Prometheus expedition, a cargo ship, Onager, made an emergency landing on LV-223 due to a Xenomorph attack on the board. A crew thought that they killed all the Xenomorphs, but it was not the case, so shortly after the landing, remained Xenomorphs killed the crew and escaped into the jungle. 40 years after this, a second human vessel, the Geryon, arrived at LV-223 as a part of a documentary film expedition with the captain Angela Foster to discover the fate of Peter Weyland and the Prometheus. A human crew soon discovered different creatures and the Xenomorphs in the jungle. It also happened that they arrived at the moon in the middle of a huge conflict between Xenomorphs, engineers, and predators. The remaining engineers were awakened from stasis and began attacking the crew with the intent on continuing their mission to wipe out humanity. At one point, 2 crew members were surrounded by a bunch of Xenomorphs, and an unexpected engineer killed the aliens and saved these people. When humans showed their gratitude to the engineer, he destroyed them using the same weapon. It appears that engineers view all other species as a threat, similarly to Xenomorphs who are extremely violent and aggressive while protecting their territory. Eventually, one of the 2 engineers was killed and only 4 humans remained alongside a predator, Ahab, who formed a temporary alliance with them. The survivors tried to go across the lake, but some of them fell into the water with mutated sharks down below. The crew also encountered the same Deacon that we saw in Prometheus. After more than 100 years, the Deacon transformed into a mountain. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but this is actually what happened. Apparently, the Deacon was consuming the black goo from the temples because there was no any other food at the time when Shaw left LV-223. Eating such large amounts of the black goo resulted in severe mutations so that the Deacon grew to the size of a mountain. This is actually a pretty interesting idea, and it shows one of the effects that the black goo might have. Well, that's all we know about what happened on LV-223 in the years following the Prometheus expedition. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit a like, subscribe, and see you next time.